If you watch an old movie or TV show set in New York before 2001, you might spot two huge towers in the skyline. They were the World Trade Center buildings, sometimes known as the Twin Towers. And for decades, they were an iconic sight in an iconic city. But on September 11, 2001, everything changed. On that morning, while people arrived for work and tourists took out their cameras, two hijacked planes were flown into the 110-floor skyscrapers. First one, then the other. And millions of people watched live on TV, even kids like me over in Australia, as the two buildings eventually collapsed.
What came down? We crashed. The other trade center's down. It's down.
Another hijacked plane was flown into the American Defense Headquarters known as the Pentagon. And a final plane was also thought to be heading to America's capital before passengers fought back and caused it to crash so it wouldn't hit its target. By the end of this sad day, nearly 3,000 people had died and thousands more were injured. It was an attack designed to shock the world and create fear. The US government said it was determined to find those responsible and hold them to account.
These acts shatter steel, but they cannot dent the steel of American resolve.
Investigations showed that known terrorist Osama bin Laden and his group Al-Qaeda were behind the attacks. They'd trained in Afghanistan, and the Taliban, the extremist Islamic group controlling the country, was protecting them. So America's next move was to target Al-Qaeda bases there.
At 20!
US soldiers and troops from allied countries like Australia were sent to the Middle East, and the war in Afghanistan began. 10 years later, the US found and killed Osama bin Laden, but the war in Afghanistan became America's and Australia's longest. And it's only this year, 20 years later, that the final Aussie and American troops were withdrawn, as the Taliban takes control of Afghanistan again. The attacks had other huge impacts on the world too. Before September 11, American passengers could sometimes take pocket knives on flights, and kids could even visit the plane's cockpit. After the attacks, the doors were locked and bulletproofed, and security in many countries ramped up and remains super strict today, including right here in Australia. In the 20 years that have passed since 9/11, New York City's built a new World Trade Center, a museum, and two huge memorials on the exact spot where the building stood. And on the anniversary of September 11, people will gather to remember one of the darkest days in American history, one that many people around the world will never forget. Now remember, if you're upset by that story or anything you see in the news, make sure you talk to someone about it. We've also put together some resources on our website with tips on how to deal with upsetting news, so make sure you check that out.